One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Shit. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful, beautiful day today. Let's get it. I stayed up until 3:30 in the morning making that song, okay? Now listen, all I did was I did the stem track of the stem of the guitar riff. That's essentially it. And it was the rhythm part even. So that's all that my input on a physical level was. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big day today. It is voting day here in Alabama for the primaries here. It's going to be an amazing day. If we win, today, we will take office on November. So vote J.R. Bowling for District 4, Alabama State Senate. Let's get it. Right after the show, we'll be going and doing our voting as we should. Absolutely. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a big morning, as you guys can see here. Trump halts Iran strikes, as well as Putin and China and Cuba crisis. All right, guys. So that's the title of this morning. But let me go ahead and give you guys a chronological timeline of what we're looking at this morning. As you guys know, Trump was suing, was going to do a lawsuit against the IRS for, exposing his records or whatever the case is earlier. I think right during the election or something like that. Anyways, so he was suing or a lawsuit over to the IRS for $10 billion. And says Trump now drops his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS. So we'll, of course, figure out what's going on there. Let's see here. We also have President Trump saying he is holding off on attack on Iran. Now, this morning, there was talk about how today we were supposed to go and basically attack and strike Iran. But some of that information has now changed a little bit this morning. So we'll get into that here in a minute. Now, there's also a wild story that's going on. There was a reported active shooter in San Diego, as you guys probably already know about, because it was a big story yesterday. San Diego police are on the scene at the Islamic Center of San Diego in the 7,000 block of Ekstrom Avenue for a reported active shooter. San Diego Police Department are asking everyone to avoid the area. Interesting, man. Then we also have another update from actual officials. Deadly San Diego mosque shooting being investigated as a hate crime. And then, of course, we're going to be getting into Iran war a little bit this morning. U.S. in, quote, serious negotiations as Trump calls off attack. Now, what ended up happening there is we had a couple of our Gulf allies down there in the Middle East that definitely wanted us to avoid doing this today. I'm not really sure of the exact reasons, but I do know that Iran basically sent over what they're calling a peace plan. But I'm only assuming that it's actually a framework for a peace plan. But nonetheless, it's something that Trump is saying that he's willing to work with and can get what he wants out of the nuclear program, their nuclear program, or any nuclear anything. with this proposal. Now we'll see how that goes, though. Now we're going to get into the Austin shooting spree. Remember that there was 10 shootings that happened over Saturday and Sunday. So we've been following that story, and we have the update right here. It says Austin shooting spree, 3 suspects arrested, full timeline released. Yo, got cooked. Looks like 3 of them got cooked. Anyways, 3 hours ago, Trump calls off Iran strike planned for Tuesday, which, as you guys know, I just explained that to you guys as to why they're holding off on this. And then just 2 hours ago, key states head to the polls for high-stakes primaries. Yes, that's exactly what we're dealing with today. Absolutely. Good day to be alive, man. It's exciting times. Then we have just an hour ago, Iran destroys military explosives as U.S. halts schedule attacks. Now, this is actually the thing that I woke up to and seeing this morning as like the first headline story. And yes, let me go ahead and read this. Explosions were reported in Iran, but they say they were not from U.S. or Israeli military strikes. Iranian officials say the regime is destroying military weapons and explosions. This comes as the U.S. had scheduled strikes on Iran, but decided to halt them. And then last but not least, we do have an update as well, just as of 45 minutes ago, on the whole San Diego shooting, 3 killed in mosque attack. Now, that's the first time I've heard the number of how many people were actually unalived or killed in this situation. So that's the official number as of now, as of 45 minutes ago. So anyways, much love, honor, respect to all you legends. Let's go ahead and do our call to actions real quick, and then we'll get right into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. You know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday, and then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. Now, speaking of members, please consider becoming a member starting only at $3.99 a month. Making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here, make sure you guys follow my Instagram right here at Ball Valve TV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time breaking news, as well as the campaign trail, which ends theoretically today. But, you know, once we get elected, the whole thing is we're not going to stop campaigning, quote unquote. I mean, yes, you're not going to have a billion signs everywhere, but we will definitely be out in the community weekly. I mean, like, we have a big district, man, and we plan on visiting everywhere a lot. You know, we're going to be holding regular town halls with the people so they can voice their concerns. All great stuff. You know what I mean? So anyways, I digress. Last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen. At any time, you guys can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds, and I'll read out loud just like a super chat. So make sure you guys put in your comments when you guys send something in. All right, let's go ahead and get this morning rolling. All right, good morning to everybody, man. Thank you for all being here. We all appreciate you guys. You guys are legends, absolutely. Let me scroll all the way up. You guys were talking a lot up here. That's great. We got Prez in the building as well as PJ. We got Cameron as well. We got Steve Easy. We got Charlie Rose as well as AU. Yes, sir. We got my man Frank as well. Always appreciate you guys. We got Prez, Naomi. Always appreciate you. Rabbit of Chaos. Absolutely. Good morning to you guys. We got Sick Bastard. Yes, sir. Great to see everybody, man. We got Virginia Chaos coming in hot. Yes, sir. Badass song. I very much appreciate that. And don't worry, we'll play it at the end, you know, so you guys can hear it as well. I like the rendition. I like it. I know that when you've heard something so long, you know, and it's been like, that's the sound, and then it changes, people are like going to be like, oh, what? You know what I mean? But hopefully you guys, after a couple of times, will actually enjoy it, because that's how I was for sure. Anyways, we got Brother So Loud in the building as well. Always appreciate you. Cameron saying good luck to bowling in Bama. Yes, sir. We got Team Bowling Ball. You know what I mean? Absolutely. We're doing our thing out here. Scrolling down, we got Tiffany Lanta as well. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat. Thank you for being with us. We got No as well. Always appreciate you. Mr. Al Patterson. Yes, sir. And Frank is ahead. That is facts. We got our counterclockwise tobacco on deck, ready to go at any time. Don't worry. We got it. See, we got Charles Darwin from Down Under. Always appreciate it, my man. And Steve Easy says, I'm tired as fuck today. Been up all night. My homie took a bad turn. Like, man, I'm super sorry to hear that. I did not know that end part. I'm super sorry to hear that. Yeah, I stayed up until about 3:30 last night. It was or 3:30 in the morning, whatever. I was too focused on the the election as well as making that song. Anyways, I see you. I see you. Team Bowling Ball, yes, sir. Let's see. All right, we're all ready to go. All right, let's go and bring this up. Let's get into our very first story of the morning. We're going to start with Trump drops the $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS. There's a very quick update, so let's just go ahead and get through this real quick.
Well, welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, 11:48 on the East Coast and 8:48 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and you are taking a live look there on the left-hand side of your screen over the White House. As I remind you here,
I don't know why it's so low.
Set to address health care at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can watch it here on Live Now from Fox. And we are following some breaking news that I want to pop up right here on your screen as the Trump administration now says that it's creating a $1.7 billion fund to compensate prosecuted allies of the president after he moved to drop his lawsuit against the Internal Revenue Service. The Anti-Weaponization Fund was announced by the DOJ as part of a deal to resolve President Trump's case over the leak of his tax returns. Democrats and government watchdogs immediately pledged to fight what they called a, quote, corrupt and unprecedented resolution. Now, this is the first part here. This is a post from the Associated Press that says President Trump moves to withdraw his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns after reports of what a resolution there to the case was close at hand. And then we learned that he has now announced that he's creating this $1.7 billion fund to compensate his prosecuted allies.
Whoa. Okay. So right there is something that we need to talk about. DOJ announces $1.7 billion fund to compensate Trump allies. And that includes the January 6ers, by the way. So I guess because he's getting a $1.7 billion fund to compensate for all this kind of shit, whatever, he's dropping the $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS.
We'll, of course, continue to follow all of this and bring you all of the latest information.
What's up, Carney? Good morning.
And right now, I do want to take a live look at the stock board here at this hour. We are, of course, keeping an eye on the Dow, as we always do. The Dow right now just kind of hovering there, teetering around the zero mark. It is down in the red about 0.1%.
Oh, shit. Steve says, did you see they took $1 billion for the ballroom out of the Homeland Security bill? No, I didn't know it came out of the Homeland Security bill, but I'm guessing that they're tying that into Homeland Security because it's, they're doing the secure aspect of the ballroom, the bunker, right? So maybe that's why it falls under Homeland Security or something like that. But I think that's probably just an excuse to get the money.
0.01%. That's about 4 points. Looks like it could potentially slide back into the green as it's been going
back
Gary? And forth all throughout the morning. Again, we always check here on the stock board and bring you all of the updates on Live Now from Fox.
All right.
As we get them.
And of course, that's what we do here on Insane Wheels. We follow all of these stories and we present you guys what's actually happening. All right, let's get into the next story here. President Trump says he's holding off on attack on Iran. Now, this came out late last night. So this is a very quick, or not late last night, I'm sorry. Yesterday afternoon, I think, around there. Anyways, we're going to play this, a very quick update on this, and then we'll get into more of this key information about holding off on the attack on Iran here in a few stories from now.
From President Trump, here we have this tweet from Trey Yink saying, President Trump says he is holding off on a scheduled attack of Iran at the request of Gulf leaders. Now we had the
That's exactly what I told you guys in the very beginning, is that they're going to hold off on this attack was because of the Gulf leaders. There was some Gulf leaders that had, some time with Trump's ear, And then the other one is that Iran actually proposed a peace plan, they're calling it, but I don't think that it's a peace plan. I think it's probably a framework to a peace plan that Trump understands that he can negotiate with.
Social post here on the monitor here from President Trump saying this: I have been asked by the Emir of Qatar.
Hell yeah, Cameron. I don't know if you know this or not, but I was in 7 different bands, touring bands actually, but when I was a lot younger. And I still perform a little bit here and there, but it definitely is not my main thing anymore.
The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia and the President of the United Arab Emirates to hold off on our planned military attack of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow.
AVC, yes, I did see that shit, bro. That's some wild stuff going on.
In that serious negotiations are now taking place, and that, in their opinion,
Ms.
as
Lotus.
great leaders and allies, a deal will be made, which will be very acceptable to the United States of America, as well as all countries in the Middle East and beyond. This deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran, all caps. Based on my respect for the above-mentioned leaders, I have instructed Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff General Daniel Kane, and the United States military that we will not be doing the scheduled attack of Iran tomorrow, but have further instructed them to be prepared to go forward with a full, large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice. In the event that an acceptable deal is not reached, thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J.
And what's up? We got Liquored Up with Poncho, my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you and just watch my kiddo graduate kindergarten. That's awesome, bro. Congratulations. That's good times. Good times. All right, we're going to move on into this reported active shooter in San Diego regarding the mosque. Okay, so it says San Diego police are on scene at the Islamic Center of San Diego. Let's go ahead and figure out what's going on here. We've been, this was a big story that was happening yesterday, of course. So now we're going to go ahead and follow up and see what's being reported now.
News to get to out of San Diego, California, where it appears.
And right after this, we actually have the governmental officials that come out and talk about the update on the deadly mosque shooting in San Diego. So anyways,
there is an active shooter situation ongoing currently. This is taking place just outside an Islamic center there in San Diego. We have this tweet here from Governor Gavin Newsom saying, Gavin Newsom has been briefed on an involving situation in Claremont community of San Diego near the Islamic Center. The governor's Office of Emergency Services is coordinating with local law enforcement. We are grateful to the first responders on the scene working to protect the community and urge everyone to follow guidance from local authorities. Here's from Mayor Todd Gloria. I am aware of the active shooter situation at the Islamic Center of San Diego.
Dude, Virginia Chaos. I almost said that myself. You know, when the modem used to actually talk to you and shit? Yeah, that's hilarious.
In Claremont, and am continuing to receive updates from law enforcement. Emergency personnel are on scene and actively working to protect the community and secure the area. Now, we really don't have too much information on this as of right now. We know that there is an active shooter situation that is
5150.
Governor Newsom, as well as the mayor, have been notified about this and briefed on this. We don't know if there's any reported injuries as of right now.
Okay, now the update, let me see if there is an update on that of the actual number. So the actual number that's being reported as of 55 minutes ago is that 3 people were killed in this mosque attack. Okay, so this was coming out yesterday. They didn't know the details of it yet, neither did we. But now we do know, and the number is 3.
This and briefed on this. We don't know if there's any reported injuries as of right now. We understand that there is also a very heavy police presence outside the Islamic Center. But besides that, we're still working to get some more information here from both our colleagues at Fox 5 and some of the other phone calls we're making here at Live Now from Fox. Now, we have this from the San Diego Police Department from earlier. SDPD is on scene at the Islamic Center of San Diego in the 700.
I remember AOL chat rooms as well as AIM. Do you remember AIM? I used that for a long time as well. AIM Messenger or whatever they called it. I forget.
Block of Ekstrom Avenue for a reported active shooter. Please avoid the area. Updates to follow. And they've been preaching that pretty substantially to avoid the area if you can. Do not go near there. There's a heavy police presence. There's likely to be significant areas shut down from traffic. And of course, it's just not safe right now with their.
Okay, and we obviously know that. We're going to move on. Let's get an update regarding this whole thing from governmental officials, or it looks like from police here. So let's go ahead and bring this up and see what's being discussed.
Let me start off by...
Now, we're not going to listen to this whole thing either. This is a long segment. We're not going to do that. We're going to get basically the monologue real quick, see what they're saying, maybe take a question or two, and then we'll move on.
Extending heartfelt condolences to the Muslim community, to the families of the 3 that are deceased, because of the horrific actions of today. This is a city's and a community's absolute worst nightmare as a free society.
Yes, by the way, you guys don't have to like all this craziness that's happening, but you guys can like the video for me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you all for that.
I appreciate all of your patience as we try to work through and piece this scene back together again. I have some updated information that I want to make sure everybody has.
Those were some good times there, Steve Easy.
At about 9:42 this morning, we received a call of a runaway juvenile. After speaking with the mom began to piece together bits and pieces of information over an extended period of time. The information that she was gathering and conveying to us began to elevate the threat level that we were perceiving with this information. She believed her son was suicidal, and she began to share information that several of her weapons were missing. Her vehicle was missing, in addition to her son.
You know what's so funny about that Rabbit of Chaos? I was probably around 5 years old when I first got like really onto the computer. I was playing like Frogger and stuff like that. And then my parents set up an AIM thing for me to chat with my grandma down the street because she was all into that shit. So I would just like, I don't know. I mean, I really didn't use it much other than to message like my parents, even though they didn't really use it, but my grandma did. So that was a great way to have a contact with her, you know? But yeah, I was very young. I was probably around when I was actually using Messenger and stuff, or AIM. I was probably at that time, or AOL. I was probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
She also said that her son was with a companion.
What's up, GEG?
And that they were dressed in camo.
These motherfuckers were dressed up in camo.
And that is not consistent with what we would typically see from somebody that is suicidal. That began to trigger a larger threat assessment picture. Our threat management unit began to take the tips and leads that we had and utilize the technology we have available to us. Our license plate readers was at the top of that list. We began to have, we noted that there were hits with the vehicle down in Fashion Valley. We dispatched officers into the area of the mall as a possible location that was a threat. We also gathered information that one of the individuals was associated in some form or fashion with Madison High School. We alerted school police department, and we dispatched officers into the area of Madison High School. While we were gathering this information and we were trying to zero in on where these individuals were at, we received the call at approximately 11:43 that there was an active shooter at these.
I gotta be honest. This guy sucks at these press briefings. Okay, I've never heard of him before. I've never seen him. Never heard him speak. But I'm telling you, I've got him sped up right now at 1.25 times, and he's unbearable to listen to. It almost where you can't even track what he's saying. You know what I mean? Because it's so monotoned and so slow, and just whatever. Honestly, I don't think we're going to get a huge amount of information from that. We're going to move on. We do have an update from the whole situation here at the very end that just came out just about 50 minutes ago. So I'll save you guys the information about San Diego shooting and the update of it now being 3 people that have been killed. That's the first number that we're actually hearing. Because when this came out yesterday, they didn't explain numbers at all. They didn't say who got hurt, how many were hurt, and how many were killed. They didn't do any of that. So this is the very first number we're hearing. So let's go and move on, though. Iran war, U.S. is in, quote, serious negotiations as Trump calls off attack. Let's go and bring that up. Also, you know what we haven't done? We got to do the money part. Absolutely.
All right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that is actual factuals. Let's get it. All right, here we go.
Back in the year
to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack, turning our attention right now to Iran, as President Trump said he's holding off a planned military strike on the Middle East for Tuesday at the request of several allies in the region because, quote, serious negotiations are underway. And this was the post on social media, on Truth Social, from the president.
You know, I tried to give him a chance there, Steve Easy. I tried. You know, I really did give it an honest effort. You know, I kept my comments to myself, but yeah, that was insufferable.
Serious negotiations are now taking place, and that, in their opinion, as great leaders and allies, a deal will be made, saying this deal will include, importantly, no nuclear weapons for Iran, saying they had a planned military attack for the Islamic Republic.
That's facts 5150.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
Of Iran, which was scheduled for tomorrow. So some major developments as they call off this, hoping diplomacy will be the path forward for what's going on in that region. So for more on this, let's go out right now. Rebecca Castor on where we stand.
It appears President Trump is giving diplomacy one more chance before greenlighting a large-scale attack on Iran. He says Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates asked him to hold off on renewed military.
There we go. Those were the countries right there, the Gulf states.
President Trump is giving diplomacy one more chance before greenlighting a large-scale attack on Iran. He says Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates asked him to hold off on renewed military strikes planned for Tuesday because, quote, serious negotiations are now taking place.
Okay, so that's what I was hoping I'd hear right there. I just hadn't heard that in any report yet because obviously it's this morning that, you know, and obviously this also came out late last night too. And I was focused on making a song rather than looking at any of this stuff. But that's good information to have right there. Why did the Gulf states say don't attack right now? What's the reason for it? I know that's, you know, can sound like kind of like a little bit of semantics, but it's all information is very important. I'd like to know why those Gulf states are saying, hey, hold off for a second. And it is consistent with the other report of, hey, we have received a, quote, peace plan from Iran that Trump thinks that he can negotiate with. Now, again, I don't think it's a peace plan. I think it's a framework to get to a peace plan. But yes, anyways.
He added he's instructing U.S. forces to be prepared to go forward with the full large-scale assault of Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached.
We've tried to work a deal with these guys, and it just doesn't seem possible. We are on the cusp of returning to full-throttle combat operations.
Pakistani mediators sent Iran's latest counterproposal to Washington Monday, but it still left out commitments to stop enriching uranium and hand over its existing stockpile.
We have not induced them to begin negotiating in good faith. Ultimately, that's how the Trump administration's military...
Well, it sounds like it may have gotten to that by this morning. So we'll see.
...campaign against Iran will be judged.
The failing peace talks drove oil prices up on Monday, and President Trump's approval rating is taking a beating. A New York Times poll has it at 37%.
Yo, mama, what's up, man? Hopefully you're enjoying the morning so far.
His lowest since returning to office, and the war is likely to blame, with almost 2/3 of voters calling it the wrong decision.
Mr. Jack Telcott as well. Blessings to you guys. Good morning. Hopefully you're both enjoying your Topless Taco Tuesday, as well as check it out. It is, voting day for us here in Northern Alabama. The primaries are up. And a vote is going to happen today. So we'll find out today if we win or not.
Let
me tell you, everything has gone up. Gas, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the department store, and I really think that's wrong.
President Trump was expected to hold a meeting with his top national security advisors in the Situation Room tomorrow. That's likely when this attack would have taken place. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that, Rebecca Castor, holding off at least for another couple.
Now, let me go ahead and see what Phil Stewart says right here from Reuters.
And possibly forever. A post from Reuters, Phil Stewart here on social media.
I never say it right.
Saying there's a very good chance.
I'm too illiterate to pronounce. Words are hard, okay? English is hard.
That they reach an agreement with Iran to prevent Iran from obtaining the nuclear weapon. He goes on to say, there seems to be a very good chance that they can work something out. If we can do that without bombing the hell out of them, I would be very happy. Let's be joined right now by Phil Stewart in the flash here on Live Now from Fox. And obviously they called off, didn't go forward with this military attack plan. Just how close was the president to giving the go-ahead?
It was pretty close. And, we've been thinking for many weeks now that this could result in renewed hostilities should the two sides not reach some sort of at least a...
Well, that's exactly what I still, even with this proposed plan, I haven't seen it yet. I'd have to see it to be able to see if that's a realistic thing that will come to some sort of actual agreement. And if we don't, then yes, like I've been saying, this whole time will just be halftime, and the second round won't be anywhere as quote unquote nice, even though it was already fucked up, obviously. But that's what Trump is getting at.
Framework agreement where they can continue negotiating, and they seem still so far apart that this latest reprieve may just be that, a little more time on the clock.
And obviously, we talked about this. President Trump has threatened numerous times before, saying that they're going to go ahead with attacks. If this attack did go forward, do we have any indication what it would have looked like? Was it the bridges and power plants day that he's...
Oh, Miss Lotus, that's awesome. Going on your B-Day vacation in 5 hours. Absolutely. Do it up, girl. Get down with your bad selves. You know what I mean? Make sure you get, your nails did and stuff like that. Absolutely. Let's get down with your bad self. Appreciate it.
That's unclear.
What's up, Gary?
Has been reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Good morning.
So a lot of the experts that we've spoken to think that the attack would have been planned along those lines, would have been, attacking fortified positions. But you also heard Secretary Hegseth speak openly about how the U.S. has been monitoring Iran during the ceasefire period, monitoring where they've been digging out armaments, where they've been, fortifying positions along the strait and on the coasts. And, you could imagine the Pentagon has a long list of targets that it's developed over this entire period. And while it's been rearming, while it's been preparing and moving more forces into the region. So I think what you can expect is a very full-throated response by the U.S. to attack new Iranian fortifications, to go after munitions that have been dug out of bunkers and prepared for launch.
Real quick, while he paused right there, Virginia Chaos asked where the party at. Well, we're going to be at my at a location and on a big lake, not this lake over here where I live, like an actual massive fucking lake. We're all going there. We're going to keep it very personal. We're not going to invite, the world to come. It's only the inner circle. And it's going to be where we're partying at
and President Trump said this could be 2 to 3 days, possibly forever, if there is a deal being reached. But just putting this in the public, in light, Iran can see that the United States had planned an attack. Does that change any future plans? The fact that Iran is now aware, potentially knowing that the U.S. could attack?
This is the real problem, is that both sides have so little trust in the other that they've both been preparing for a potential failure of these talks for some time. So the Iran...
Yes, of course. And I think that both sides are still banking on that happening. Again, we don't need to have this analyst. I just wanted to have a little bit of what he was going to say about this. We already know what at least my stance here on Insane Wheels is, and how this is going to play out. Now, hopefully that there was some sort of actual peace negotiations, that peace plan or whatever they called in the report. Hopefully it is actually something Trump can deal with, because it was good enough for the Gulf states to say, you know what, don't shoot at them. You actually have a decent concession here. Let's see if we can make something happen. And it looks like it's being taken into consideration. Anyways, let's go ahead and bring our attention over to Austin, Texas, regarding the shooting spree. 3 suspects arrested, full timeline release. Now, as you guys know, we reported on this yesterday. We started reporting on it yesterday. And there was 10 different shootings that happened over the weekend on Saturday, Sunday. And now they had 0 suspects. They really didn't have that much of a description. They did have a little bit, but there wasn't much. And now they've got 3 suspects arrested. So let's check it out.
Back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Let's turn our attention right now to Texas, as a serious sequence of events yesterday in Austin involving a dozen shootings that police are now investigating. A post on social media from our Fox 7 team saying the Austin Police Department, they've arrested 3 suspects in connection with a series of shootings, stolen cars, and violent crimes. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox.
Facts, VC.
Marco Bittnell from our Fox 7 team. Marco, what can you tell us about who these suspects are and what police are doing about it?
Well, hey, Andy, last night we just spoke to Justin Newland. He's a man who lives in Manor City, just about 12 miles northeast of Austin. He says that he was just trying to take a nap when his neighborhood was thrust into a massive manhunt for those 3 suspects. Newland then went to go check on his property to make sure it was clear, only to find those suspects hiding in his own backyard.
Damn.
They just looked at me like,
what? No way. I got to hear that part again. That is crazy.
Northeast of Austin. He says that he was just trying to take a nap when his neighborhood was thrust into a massive manhunt for those 3 suspects. Newland then went to go check on his property to make sure it was clear, only to find those suspects hiding in his own backyard.
Wow, dude. Bruh.
They just looked at me like, what do we do? And
what do we do?
Fight or flight.
The moment a man from Manor came face.
What do you mean, what do you do? You just shot up 2 days in a row, 10 different shootings. What now what?
To face with the suspects wanted in connection to a dozen shootings.
Well, I came home, was trying to enjoy a nap when I heard sirens and all that. My dog barking, got up, SWAT up and down the road.
Justin Newland had just made it home when a manhunt began near FM 973 and 290 in Manor. Police were looking for 3 teenagers wanted in connection to 12 different shootings in Austin.
I noticed my barn doors were open, which I did leave open. And I decided at that time to go ahead and clear them to make sure nobody was in there.
Newland checked the front of his barn and found it empty, but when he tried to open the side door, it wouldn't budge.
I had to literally shove my way in, and when I did, there's 2 suspects sitting right there on each side of the door.
Newland tried to close.
Oh my God. So they were hiding in a barn.
The door and told both of the suspects to remain calm.
I'm trying to flag the sheriff to come up to my house at the same time I'm going to my truck to get my gun.
So they did 12. Now, yesterday, the report was 10. Now they're saying 12 on that. Yeah, good catch.
Entering my truck to get my gun, I hear them running out behind me.
Newland then chased after one of the teenagers, gun in hand.
I eventually cornered him at the fence line and held him at gunpoint until state troopers and SWAT were able to capture him.
Damn, homie had him on gunpoint. Damn.
Eventually, all 3 suspects were detained after a multiple-hour search. They were confirmed to be 17, 16, and 15 years old. They had been involved with 12 separate shootings across Austin in just 24 hours. Used during the spree, a gun stolen from an Austin gun shop.
They've come into the gun store apparently 4 other times to try to steal guns from us. 4 separate times.
That's a really dumb idea. What? You want to go steal from the same gun shop that you've already attempted to steal from? That's really dumb. If you failed the first 3 times, why'd you go back for a 4th? Are you for real?
Michael Cargill, the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, says the gun was stolen from his store. He claims 2 of the suspects in the Austin shooting spree had repeatedly tried to steal from him. In January, one of the teenagers,
Look at that guy.
17-year-old Christian.
Look at that Edgar. Oh my God.
Mondragon ran out of Cargill's store with a gun before he was cornered on a Cap Metro bus. He was apprehended by APD, but eventually released.
Unbeknownst to me, he was released from that system into the custody of his parents or custodian or guardian.
Cargill says Mondragon was then a part of the group which stole another gun from him on
Shit, that's right. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Shit.
Bruh. Saturday, a different teenager who Cargill was unfamiliar with came into the store before running out with a gun and jumping
Oh
into
yeah, 5150. It's very much the same way here in Alabama. I can promise you that. I can absolutely promise you that. Actually, it's going to be the same thing for you guys over there as well, but no one's just got one. You know what I mean? Everyone's got an AR in the back. Everyone's got or a shotgun, pistol on the side. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
getaway car. But when it comes to how the teenager was able to get his hands on the gun inside the store, Cargill says he wasn't aware they were underage.
We didn't know they were teenagers. Even when the Austin Police Department showed up, we showed the video to them. They thought they were 20 years of age.
So, but if we were to walk in there to say, can I look at this gun, I wouldn't have to show an ID for that.
Not initially.
Oh, I'm glad that you get a good kick out of it. Hey, pun intended, by the way.
The shooting spree that those suspects went on lasted from Saturday afternoon and went all the way into Sunday. In total, those suspects stole at least 5 different cars. They shot up multiple different buildings and apartment complexes, including 2 Austin fire stations. And in total, 4 people were left struck by gunfire, with one of those victims.
So, wow. So 4 people were struck by gunfire. 1 victim is, injured, and 3 others died
from life-threatening injuries. They've since been taken to a trauma center to be treated. Andy.
Yeah, cool. Wait. I might have been getting my San Diego thing crossed up. Let me back that up and hear it again.
At least 5 different cars. They shot up multiple different buildings and apartment complexes, including 2 Austin fire stations.
Okay, so I was confusing the stories. Sorry, 2 different stories. So we actually haven't got a number of anybody that was hurt or killed in the Austin shootings either, because of the amount of shootings. They didn't come out and say this many people are hurt. That's the first time we're actually hearing a number on this particular case as well, too. So that's where I got confused. My apologies.
Total 4 people were left struck by gunfire, with one of those victims suffering from life-threatening injuries. They have since been taken to a trauma center to be treated. Andy.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy sequence of events over the weekend, a dozen shootings. Marco, I do have a question, because the first individual so very interesting, as he had to held these suspects at gunpoint. Any other notes from him that really stood out? Because that must have been an ordeal to open his barn and see these kids inside.
Yeah, he said, I asked him at that point, I said, were you at all frightened when you came across those suspects hiding in your barn? And he told me not at all. He said his mind at that point was thinking
Well,
about
yeah, because he's got a firearm on his on his side, so he's ready.
his neighbors. He said he lives kind of in a neighborhood with a lot of elderly people in it, and said he wanted to be their protector, and said at that moment he wasn't frightened at all, and all he could think about was springing into action. Andy.
And that's exactly what he did. All right, Marco, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. You're live now.
That's crazy, VC. All right, let's go ahead and see if there's. Oh, there is some governmental posts that look like
in a shooting, a theft of different cars, as well as Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, saying these kids are serial criminals with a callous disregard for life. If they ever release from jail, they will surely harm again. Austin Police, Travis County, in which the city of Austin sits, says they did their job. Texas Department of Public Safety aided them. The DA and the court must do their jobs to keep these criminals behind bars. And let's take you back out to some of these comments.
I'd like to know what the actual age range of them are. But let's see if there's any other posts. We don't need to hear the gun store owner talk about him almost getting ripped off 4 different times. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, Trump calls off Iran strike plan for Tuesday. This comes out this morning. It looks like we have 2 stories that are going to be talking about Iran early this morning. So this is going to be the setup. We're going to be doing this one first. This one came out 4 hours ago. And then we're going to be talking about the high stakes primaries for a lot of these states, as well as then Iran destroys military explosives as U.S. halts scheduled attacks. So we've got a lot of shit going on. And then, of course, we've got an update on the San Diego shooting as well. So let's go ahead and embrace our fuck ups quickly and briefly.
Beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck-ups when you have tomorrow's fuck-ups to look forward to? You are a fuck-up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
I am fully embraced. Yes, let's get it. All right, here we go.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for joining us here at Live Now from Fox on this Tuesday. It is May 19th. My name is Carla Lahara. I'm here to guide you through the
Let me go ahead and speed her up a little bit here.
Today's top stories, and of course, bring you any breaking news updates. And when live events get underway, we have got you covered. Today, I want to start with some of the latest headlines coming out of the Middle East and bringing us out to a social media post courtesy of Reuters. It says this: U.S. President Trump said he had paused a planned attack against Iran after Tehran sent a peace proposal to Washington, and that there was now a, quote, very good chance of reaching a deal limiting Iran's nuclear program. Bringing us out to a live image that we have at the White House over in Washington, D.C., as I also read up some of this.
The fat boy in me is getting jealous right now, Steve Easy. Relax.
Reporting courtesy of the Associated Press. They say the president has been threatening for weeks that the ceasefire reached with Iran in mid-April could end if Iran did not make a deal, with shifting parameters for striking such an agreement. Over the weekend, he also warned, quote, for Iran, the clock is ticking, and they better...
You know what I realized, Naomi, is I don't actually have a link in the description to become a member. Maybe I just have lost it over the course of time, but I don't have it anymore. We got Brother So Loud coming in with the $9.99, the 10 spot, saying I'm embraced. Hit that like button. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the love out from the boondocks in North Carolina, my man. Always appreciate the love and support. It definitely goes a long way. Thank you for that.
There won't be anything left of them. The president has repeatedly set deadlines for Tehran and then backed off, but he's also previously indicated he would hold off on military action to allow talks to continue, only to turn around and launch strikes. That's what happened at the war's outset when he ordered strikes in late February, shortly after indicating he would let talks play out. President Trump said the current pause for negotiations was a, quote, very positive development, while acknowledging there were times in the past when a deal seemed close, but nothing came of it. And he added, quote, but this time it's a little bit different. A lot to discuss this morning, so joining us next onto the program is going to be Ross Harrison. He's a senior fellow at the Middle East Institute and author of the new book, Decoding Iran's Foreign Policy. Ross, good morning. Good to have you on today.
Thank you, Corral. Nice to be here with you.
You know, I was really hoping that they were going to bring on Hal Kempfer for this segment right here. Well, I haven't heard from Ross before, but I guess he's Middle East Institute. That's where he's a graduate of, or whatever, from Middle East Institute.
So there I gave a bit of a recap of some of those latest headlines, including what President Trump had to say last night. He also, though, even though he called off those strikes for today on this Tuesday, he said that he told military leaders, quote, to be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault on Iran on a moment's notice if a deal is not reached, an acceptable deal. So, Ross, my first question is, to what extent does President Trump's approach strengthen or weaken U.S. leverage with Iran?
Good question.
Well, I think it's important, Karel, to talk about what the U.S. bargaining leverage is going into this moment at this point, and what the relative position is between the United States and Iran. I think what the president said about the GCC states, our Gulf Arab allies, basically convincing him to hold off on an attack on Tuesday, is partially true. But I don't think it's the whole story. I think part of the story.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you know that?
Is that while the United States can inflict significant military damage, indicated by your comment that he uses the term locked and loaded and ready to go, they can inflict damage, but there's not a clear sense of what that damage would do in terms of creating any kind of a real political outcome or bring us closer to resolution of this conflict. So I think the United States position, the United States clearly has.
I don't know. I think that's speculation, homeboy.
Leverage. It has
leverage?
Not necessarily the advantage of time, but it certainly has the ability to inflict damage on Iran. But Iran also has significant bargaining leverage as well going into this moment. And to some degree, we can think about the United States being caught in a bit of an escalation trap, in the sense that if the United States escalates and Donald Trump does carry through on his threat, well, again, he can inflict damage, but will it bring Iran closer to capitulation? Probably not. Will it bring the United States closer to a deal with Iran? Probably not. So escalating doesn't produce an outcome that's necessarily advance U.S. interests, and de-escalation is tough for the president because he might be weakening his position in any kind of a negotiating deal. So I think what's happening is that both sides are trying to create the space for a diplomatic track while threatening using kinetic military action should those talks fail. But we've played this game before in terms of talks, threats, and then some form of escalation. So we'll see how this plays out over the coming days. Hopefully this will be the real thing, but we won't know for a day or so.
It's been several weeks already, and kind of this back and forth it seems like just an ongoing, like I said, back and forth between both. Even though we get to the table, we talk negotiations, just strikes are imminent from both sides. You mentioned there within that last answer the Gulf Arab states, and I want to focus on that a little bit with this next question. So first, a social media post courtesy of Barack Ravid. He is a national security reporter. He says this: behind the scenes, Trump spoke on the phone with the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE in the 24 hours before his announcement, two sources with knowledge said. One U.S. official said there'd been a, quote, unified message from Doha, Abu Dhabi, and Riyadh. It was along the lines of, give negotiations a chance because if you hit Iran, we will all pay the price for it. A second source with knowledge said Trump told some of his hawkish political allies the three Arab leaders told him, quote, they don't want their oil and energy facilities blown up due to Iranian retaliation. Ross, let's dive a little bit deeper from this reporting courtesy of Barack and talk to us about how Gulf Arab states behind the scenes are encouraging and also helping with de-escalation in these current times.
Yeah, Karel, I don't think we can talk about the GCC states. So we talked about Qatar, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. I don't think they're working necessarily completely in unison, but I think all parties have an interest in de-escalation at this point. Because as you indicated, this conflict has been going on since February 28th. So all parties have a clear interest, but that's where the similarities end. They have very, very different objectives, and they each have been affected very differently through this war. The UAE, for a whole host of reasons, has been hit the most, about 3,000 hits or 3,000 missile strikes.
Wow, I didn't know it was that many. I thought it was in the hundreds. 3,000? They've taken on 3,000 missile strikes?
Have been waged or launched by Iran on the UAE.
Okay, so that it's been waged or launched. That doesn't mean strikes. Okay. I was just making sure there. I wonder how many were shot down and how many actually made contact.
Qatar, where I just came back from a week or so ago, they had about 700 or 800. So much
of the
Qatar damage has been incurred by the United Arab Emirates. But I think what we're seeing now, Karel, is that all the states realize that the security bargain that they believed that they had struck with the United States, putting bases in the Al Udeid base in Qatar and the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain and bases in the UAE, the idea was that would create some kind of a security shield. And what the Gulf Arab states discovered was it wasn't a shield, it was actually a boomerang and a target. It made them more vulnerable, not less vulnerable. So each of the states realized that they have very little to gain by escalation and very little to gain by escalation, a lot to lose, and they all have an interest in de-escalation. And I think the potential for further damage, as the tweet indicated, the potential for further damage is there. And each of these states, Karel, have created a future for themselves in terms of their vision for the Saudi Arabia, for their Vision 2030 plan. They have created visions and
all of them, all the UAE, Qatar, all the Gulf states for sure,
and plans for themselves that assumed stability. stability provided by a security umbrella from the United States.
Yeah, and how they go forward in the world, of course.
And a security umbrella provided by their economic model. And if this conflict goes on, continues for much longer, their futures are affected by much more so than our futures in the United States. So I think they have a
yes, they would be affected way more than actually we would on a scale for whether it be oil, whether any of that shit. It's definitely interesting developments. All right, so that's enough of that. We got enough of him speaking there. We gave him more than enough time. Now let's go ahead and get into, before we get back into Iran and the United States this morning, key states head to polls for high-stake primaries. Yes, it is high stakes. And today is the day that we figure out if Mr. J.R. Bowling wins the Senate seat, by the way. Now, his incumbent, the man that he's running against, has spent over $1 million, like $1.5 million. And we've raised $11,000, and we're going to win with 11 grand. You know what I mean? Because it's not about money that equals votes, okay? Connection and people actually being heard and selfless leadership is what gets votes, and it's a lost thing nowadays. People look for it for a power position. People look for it for like a platform, Here's the thing. I don't need any of that. I already have a platform. Dude, I have a platform that's bigger than 95% of American politicians. I don't feel like I'm not being heard. You know what I mean? The whole money thing, dude, any money that we're going to be receiving from like any campaign stuff, that goes right back into the community. Literally, we're always going to hold a little bit of money in our account, very small amount, and which we have to show everybody. But the thing is it's going to go right back into the community where it should go.
For this Tuesday, and taking us out to a social media post courtesy of our team at Fox 5 in Atlanta.
Thank you for that, Cameron.
Georgia voters are heading to the polls Tuesday, so today, to decide who will represent.
No, we will find out that race. We'll find out all of the races basically this evening, late this evening.
Their party in November, with the race to replace term-limited Governor Brian Kemp topping the ballot. Joining us next from the team at Fox 5 is Brittany Edney, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about how that voting turnout is going. Good morning, Brittany.
Hey there, good morning. It really has been not only...
Are you serious? The Israel lobby has spent $30 million to oust Massey in Kentucky. Wow. I didn't know that they did that. I'm obviously assuming that they gave it to not only ads and stuff like that, but they probably gave it to, I forget who he's running against, but even Trump was like, yeah, he's a good guy or whatever. We got Steve Posey coming in with the 420 saying late fee, embracing my fuck up. My man, thank you very much for the 420. It goes a long way. Absolutely. Welcome in, my man, and thank you for the 420.
Record-breaking, but very impressive when you're talking about a primary election for early voting turnout. So far, we have seen about 14% of Georgia's more than 7.3 million active voters already cast their ballot. But I want to break that down a little bit for you, including party lines. So far, we've seen just over 584,000 registered Democrats cast their ballot early, and that's compared to just over 430,000 Republicans. So you're talking about a difference of about 154,000 votes. You've got, of course, that high-profile race like the governor that you mentioned and U.S. Senate here in Georgia, as well as Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State as well. These roles really going to be critical in certifying and managing the upcoming 2028 presidential cycle.
Now, it's not just Georgia, okay? I mean, there's lots of states that are going through this right now. May 19th is a big day for the primaries.
Also, a nonpartisan election that doesn't tend to get as much attention, like the state Supreme Court race, has actually become quite political, as some candidates have gotten the backing of former President Barack Obama, and especially those races important with the state Supreme Court, again, likely about to hear some important cases like gerrymandering. Of course, both sides of the aisle are really going to be watching this turnout very closely, and if you look over here behind me, you can see that the election workers have been very busy bees this morning. We saw them about an hour ago unloading their cars, putting up the vote here signs, the vote here flags, really trying to direct all those.
Yep, and JR went around last night going to not every single one in the district. You can't do that, but at least in our area, went to every single voting station and set up his signs and stuff like that last night.
Voters into this way so they don't miss the polling location, so that when the doors open here in about 10 minutes at
That's right,
7 o'clock,
Steve Easy.
people know where to come to. They can
You know, and I say this, and I've been saying this for a long time, but the thing is if you want to see true, like this is what I was saying during the election, the last couple elections actually, is like, I understand it's very important who our president is. Of course, I'm not going to diminish that, not belittling that. But what I will say is if you want to see a true difference in your actual everyday life, then you should be just as fired up, if not more fired up, for your local government and what's going on locally, because that's what's going to directly impact you right then, right now, kind of thing. So absolutely, I stand by this message. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Just go out there and vote, man.
head on into the library that we're stationed at and cast their ballot. Now, one big thing that a lot of people need to remember when you are voting wherever it is that you are today is go ahead and double check that voting location so you're going to the right address. And also, if you're maybe going to work or running errands and not able to get out until later on in the evening, as long as you are in line by that 7 p.m. deadline, you are going to be able to cast your ballot. So don't get out of line. Make sure to just stay there, wait your turn, and you will be able to vote. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Brittany Edney with the team there at Fox 5 in Atlanta. Brittany, thanks so much for keeping us up to date with this voter turnout there in Georgia. You take care. I also want to just acknowledge some more of these events that we are expecting here at Live Now from Fox coming up.
I want to see. Okay, here's a map. There we go. Primary day, May 19th, 2026. Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. That is what's happening today. These are the states that are in their primary day. All right. Oregon, Idaho, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania.
Joining us next to break down what you need to know ahead of these primaries and to talk a little bit about some of the most talked about, I would say, candidates there is going to be Rich Rubino. He is a political analyst and historian. He joins me now. Rich, good morning.
You know, Rich is a nice guy, but I really don't need him commenting too much on the primaries. Listen, stick to talking about the Middle East. So Trump said something about Massey. Let's go and see what he said.
The social media post on Truth Social. I want to put this one up briefly, though, from his account on X. He says the worst congressman in the long and storied history of the Republican Party is Thomas Massey. He's an obstructionist and a fool. Vote him out of office tomorrow, Tuesday. It will be a great day for America. Something else that you pointed out, Rich, within that last answer is how these Republican candidates, really, it's tough for them to survive.
VC, it doesn't sound like it. He's actively doing it. I mean, he's been doing it during this whole campaign. Now, has he been doing that at all previously? He claims he has. He claims that, oh, I just didn't publicize it. No, motherfucker. You don't need to lie to kick it. You know what I mean?
Stop the cap. Politically, after opposing President Trump, are there instances where some of these candidates, so they still do thrive within the Republican Party, even if they don't go hand in hand with President Trump and the Trump administration?
I think Thomas Massey is...
Now, I will say this is... If we win today, we're going to win Alabama state history. No Senate pro tem that was currently sitting has lost at his local district. It's not been done before in Alabama, at least. So if we win, the guy's already, spent $1.5 million. We have spent and raised $11,000. That will be a Netflix documentary. Mark my words.
An example of somebody who has thrived. He was reelected last time. The president couldn't even get a challenger, even though the president has been pretty much a steadfast critic of Thomas Massey. Massey advertised himself, says that I vote more times with President Trump than I vote against Donald Trump. He says he votes about 90% of the time, and the other 10% is either in terms of issues like the Epstein files or foreign wars, which he opposes. This is really an internecine fight in the Republican Party about what it means to be America first. I think Ed Coltrane, his opponent, would say that means...
Yep, that's sad but true. What Steve Easy just said, Trump has totally turned into the deep state. And I hate to say that because that's exactly what we were trying to originally get him to do, is to go and purge the swamp, right? You know what I mean? And that's what the deep state is. And now he has absolutely become the deep state. Yep. Sad reality.
He's supporting President Trump pretty much on just about everything. He really could not come up with any issue where he is opposed with Donald Trump. But contrastly, I think that Thomas Massey would say that it means being a principled conservative, and a principled conservative for him means essentially supporting limited and government funding. And he wants extreme limits on government funding. For example, he wants to ban all foreign aid. He wants to end.
Yo, that would be crazy.
Pretty much most military interventions. He's very much anti-war. He's very similar to, I think, Republicans in the past, like Pat Buchanan, who ran in 1992 and 1996. In Donald Trump, actually, Donald Trump was a fierce critic of the war in Afghanistan, a fierce critic of the war in Iraq, at least when he ran in 2016. And his first administration really advertised himself as being the first president since Jimmy Carter not to have dropped a bomb, for example. So he's very similar to that libertarian ethos. And this will be very similar to see.
What's up, Uncle Fester, my man? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, bro. Blessings to you. Hopefully you and the family are doing well. Great to see you always.
First, how it's really kind of ascribed in the Republican Party in this primary.
Staying on this point for just another question here, but turning it over to the voters now, Rich, and what they may be thinking as they head to the polls. How are some people balancing, their support for President Trump while also supporting candidates that have openly criticized him?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question.
Well, it's interesting. In this particular district, Donald Trump won last time with 67% of the vote. This is an overwhelmingly Republican district. But also, while he was winning, Tom Massey was winning with 96%.
That's like my district. My district is, almost zero Democrats. Like there's, for instance, up here where we live, as the challenger, we're challenging our own party, right? And there is no Democrats running for the position. So that's why we'll know if we win today, because we have no Democrats in our race, right? In our race, if we did have Democrats in the race, then we'd have to go, once you win the primary, then you have to go battle it out until November with the other side. But since we don't have any Democrats running against us, we'll know if we win legitimately today.
% of the vote with no opposition whatsoever. He literally did not have a candidate running against him last time around.
So we are in overtime, by the way. We're getting a little bit of OT today. You know what they say about overtime? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your donos. Let's get it.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking.
Oh man, I'm just smacking on my big ass sandwich over here.
Man, motherfuckers talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not giving a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
All right, back to the action.
Voters, and sometimes there can be, it's almost like split voter syndrome, I guess you can call it, where you kind of, where you vote for candidates that have antithetical ideologies. In this case, their ideologies are actually relatively simpatico, except for a few issues, and military intervention is one. I think the opening of the Epstein files, Donald Trump was kind of incredulous about at the beginning, but then when it passed with only one
What's up, Jogging Classy? Good morning.
dissenting vote in the United States House of Representatives, he became kind of a reluctant supporter of it, would have passed over his veto anyways. But Donald Trump really views Thomas Massey as a critic. He views him similar to a Democrat, and anybody who is a thorn in his side, he wants to defeat. And I think that some voters in Kentucky's in this congressional district in Kentucky like Thomas Massey, but they also like President Trump. And I think that's why there are some Republicans who are.
See, but there's going to be people that just look at it as like, well, I support him and I support him, whether Trump supports him or not. It's kind of, whatever. That's the way that I look at these things, but maybe other people will get swayed by it. I'm sure they do. But again, here's the map of the primary days for the states that are affected today. And as I named off, Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Kentucky, Oregon, and Pennsylvania have their primaries today. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to get into Iran destroys military explosives as U.S. halt the scheduled attacks that were supposed to happen today. But as we know that we have received a quote unquote peace plan, which again, it's not a peace plan per se. It's actually it's going to be a framework to a peace plan. But it's something that Trump said that he thinks he basically can negotiate with. And then on top of that, the Arab states, the Gulf states, those ones, they let Trump know like, hey, you may not want to launch those attacks yet because there is a decent peace plan proposal or whatever for you guys. So maybe hold off. Anyways, we got Sterling Wheel coming in with the 8 months saying, good morning, kids. Yes, sir. Good morning. Great to see you in the chat. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning. And thank you for the re-up on the membership. Let's get it, man. Good morning. Good morning. All right. And by the way, make sure you guys stick around for the very end because we have an update on, I updated this song, the intro and exit song. So make sure you guys stick around for that and let me know how it sounds. Anyways, here we go. Let's go into what we're getting from U.S. Central Command.
And of course, we do want to get to the latest on that right now as we follow several different developments. Iranian state media now reporting explosions on Iran's Keshem Island were not caused by strikes, but rather the disposal of explosives.
Wow. They were trying to get rid of explosives and they blew up. But then they tried to blame the United States and or Israel for it. That's weird. But anyway, Sterling Will coming in, gifting out 5 gifted memberships. Yo, that's big deal. I very much appreciate that, Sterling. It goes a long way, not only helping me, but 5 others in the IWF, man. So thank you for that.
Witness accounts began circulating on social media a short time ago, and the Israel War Room posted this right here on your screen saying, quote,
Sterling said I got 5 on it.
Media reports explosions on Keshem Island. Now, Iran International English posted the same via state media, but...
Oh, shit. Real quick, we got a Cash App as well. My man. Oh, wow. I very much appreciate you, Uncle Fester, coming in with the 10 spot on Cash App, and he just sends an American flag. Yo, dude, that is awesome. Roll Tide, baby. Shit. Always appreciate you, my man. Thank you very much. It goes a long way. Making it rain.
Followed up with this post here on X. Several consecutive explosions heard on Iran's southern Keshem Island around midday Tuesday were caused by the disposal of unexploded ordnance, a provincial security official told state media. The deputy security governor of that province said specialist teams carried out an operation, and he urged the public not to worry and to ignore rumors on social media. All of these reports coming as Axios reports that President Trump plans to convene a meeting of his top national security advisors that's set for today to discuss potential military options against Iran. As always, there is so much to discuss here, so I do want to bring in Major Daron Spielman, the former spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces and New York Times best-selling author. He has a lot of titles and wears a lot of hats. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Real quick, before we get into it with him, we're not going to hear his whole diatribe. We're not going to do that. We're going to hear a little bit of what he's got to say first, and then we'll base it off of that. And then anyways, because we still have another story after this as well. But what I wanted to interrupt for is, listen, you guys don't have to like all this craziness, but you guys can hit the like button for me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. I know it's crazy out here. It's not always great news, but listen, you know, we put a lot of hard work and dedication into this. So thank you guys. Double tapping that screen, hitting that like button goes a long way. Thank you for that. Also, 5150 also just becoming a member. My man, thank you very much joining in on the fun, man. Make sure you guys, if you are just signing up or have received a gifted membership, we do members only every single Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's a great time, bro. We don't talk about any of this shit. We actually have a great time. But anyways.
Thank you, Josh. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And first off, I want to start by talking about these reports of explosions, because every time we hear something like that coming in out of Iran, there are questions about whether the U.S. or Israel or maybe both are carrying out another operation. Is that kind of what goes through your mind when you hear something like that?
I think we have to always have a healthy sense of scrutiny. When Iran says anything, they have a propensity to lie, certainly when it serves them. Although I do think in this case, Josh, that we probably are looking at them exploding an ordnance that was dropped on that area. We have to understand that that island used to be a tourist island. It's located directly in the middle of Hormuz.
That's interesting.
But Iran,
but there is a lot of islands over
trying
there.
to choke international shipping, turned that island from a tourism center into a military bastion. It would be like taking Ellis Island in New York, making all the tourists go out of the way so that you could threaten every ship.
That's the island. That's the actual island that's in question here. Now, there's other islands in this. I mean, you can see, you know, right above the UAE here. I mean, there's a lot of islands up here in the strait. So, but the bigger one that's hugging Iran is Qasim Island.
Sailing into New York Harbor. And it makes sense because both Israel and the U.S. did strike that island. And I think in any future decision and discussion, it's going to have to involve Iran being dislodged from anything that can threaten shipping. And that island is one of the key choke points.
And of course, we're looking at a map here that kind of points out where Keshem Island is in relation to the Strait of Hormuz, which has been a big topic of discussion. When you look at all of this, what is the coordination right now likely like between the U.S. and Israel? I have to imagine that they are still in lockstep when it comes to exactly what happens next, carrying out the mission here against Iran and preventing them from having a nuclear weapon, but also reopening the Strait of Hormuz to everyone to get through.
You know, I think that this will go down in history as probably one of the greatest coordinations between any two militaries. And to put this in perspective, neither Israel or the U.S. is located near this area. Where Israel's clearly in striking distance because Iran has launched many an array of ballistic missiles. But both the U.S. and Israel are fighting a terrorist entity that is not next.
I do wonder how many missiles, ballistics in particular, Iran has launched since the start of this war. That would be a very interesting number to know. I'm sure that's probably a number that's maybe impossible to really actually know the number, but I would like to know a ballpark.
And at the same time, the ability to coordinate both aerial forces.
I'm live. This came out earlier this morning, I think about an hour and a half ago.
Naval forces, ground forces, in the event that they would be used, intelligence is on the most phenomenal level. And I think this will really stand up as really an icon, as a paradigm for the way warfare should be fought between allies. And it stems really because of the orders.
And PJ coming in with the 7 months as a prospect. My man, always appreciate you. Thank you for re-upping your membership and showing a lot of love as you always do, man. Thank you very much for making it rain as well. Hopefully you've been enjoying that 7 months of memberships, man. That must mean, well, let's see. That would be 28, right? 28 episodes you've been able to watch of members only?
Given down from the top by President Trump on one hand and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the other. You can see when two leaders really want to coordinate and they send that message down to the militaries, it can be done, which is why we've had very few losses in this entire war and casualties. Every loss, of course, is important, but it's because any other two armies doing this, I think it probably would have been much different. To drill this down, Josh, to the present day, there's no question that this is no longer a war that's just about proxies and just about nuclear weapons. It's about economic arteries. The Gulf now sees that they can never leave Iran in charge of an economic artery where it can just squeeze them. And Israel and the U.S. are coordinated. Hopefully Europe will come on board into securing that Hormuz will be an international waterway where you can't have a terrorist regime squeeze the life out of democracies whenever it wants to.
It's also important to note that a little less than 24 hours ago, we heard from President Trump as he posted on Truth Social. And essentially the gist of what he had to say was that strikes were actually planned by the U.S. on Iran today. However, due to some of the remarks, some of the pleas from the Gulf Arab countries, especially the allies there, that he postponed those attacks, those strikes on Iran. What do you make of that overall to publicly kind of make that statement and let Iran know, hey, we were going to strike you today, but I guess we won't?
Excuse me. Yes, this is going to be the question that we end off on this story, and we'll get into the next. But that's a good question.
President Trump means business, and Israel means business. And we've shown that we mean business both in June 2025 and in March 2026. We are willing to do, both of our countries are willing to do what it takes to ensure that Iran does not have any nuclear weapons it can use to confront either of these countries. And at the same time, President Trump is incredibly responsible, and he's been giving Iran chance after chance to do this job themselves. He's asked a very simple thing: give up your enriched uranium, give up your nuclear program, and we can make Iran a rich country. We can help it achieve its potential in the Iranian people. But that regime is stubborn. And the reason they're stubborn, and we have to understand this in the West, it's because they're ideologically dedicated to the destruction of Israel and the West. And it's very difficult to take people who are fanatics and have them think about the betterment of their citizens. But he's giving them the chance. If they do it, we can avoid a war, have peace in the region. And if they don't do it, I think the only way to move forward, and this has been said by both sides, will be with force to force them to give up the nuclear program and the ability to threaten the West.
Well, whether we agree with it or not, that is the truth. That will be the two outcomes. There's really only two outcomes that this is Trump sees anyways. Okay, so let's get into San Diego shooting. We do have the update on the Islamic, what do they call it? Well, a mosque that was hit in San Diego. So we have the update. The very first time they're actually giving a number, the exact number. So far, they're saying 3 were killed in this mosque attack. And it is being investigated as a hate crime. So let's go ahead and bring this up.
I do want to get back to a big story that we have been following over the last 24 hours or so, and that is the deadly shooting at a mosque over in San Diego. Take a look at this aerial footage coming in from our affiliate over there. Now, before the gunfire, police say they were working to locate...
Me too, Steve Easy. Me fucking too.
2 teenagers who would ultimately carry out that attack, killing 3 people and then taking their own lives. That search started after the police chief says the mother of one of the teens reported that he was suicidal, had run away, weapons were missing from the home, and her car was gone. 2 hours after that, gunshots were fired at the Islamic Center of San Diego, just blocks away from the home. The suspected shooters, ages 17 and 18, were found in a car, police say, after taking their own lives near the shooting scene. And today, police say they plan to execute search warrants related to that investigation as they work to piece together exactly what happened and how this played out. Those investigators saying the suspects engaged.
Look how big that motherfucking place is.
In, quote, generalized hate rhetoric, and the shooting is considered a hate crime. A lot to this here. Want to bring in a friend of the show. We have Jillian Snyder, retired NYPD officer, resident senior fellow at R Street Institute, and adjunct lecturer at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. As always, Jillian, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us as we work to gather more information about the tragic situation there.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning. Well, first off, I want to kind of start from where things stand right now. What has kind of stood out to you overall from your investigative background as we've learned bits and pieces of the information about exactly how this happened?
Well, we do know this is a quite fresh investigation.
Man, I absolutely hate when these people come on as some specialist or whatever the case is, and they come on to talk to the world and they're speaking through their laptop microphone. Like, bro, you sound like you're in a fucking tin can. Like, please, come on, man. You're talking to the world right now. You don't have a $100 microphone?
On the last press conference, I believe, being last evening. So law enforcement was very smart in just giving what they could because they want to make sure to corroborate all evidence. One of the things that stood out to me most, though, was the fact that this was a pair of individuals. That's quite rare in attacks like this, where we typically would see
Right. It was two people, right?
a wolf actor or one assailant. Again, the age also is something that struck me as rather anomalous because we don't see shooters this young. That's typically 1 in 4. I think it's about 25% of mass shooters or active shooters are in this
Man, it's mind-blowing to me.
age category.
What about where things kind of go from here? When you take a look at the situation playing out, the investigation, we know that police, investigators, detectives, they have said essentially that they're going to serve these search warrants from here as they work to kind of gather more details, but they also say it is being investigated as a hate crime. So they, of course, have a lot of information, but are looking for more.
We know so far a lot of media outlets have reported that there was some kind of written manifesto or note to the mom, which included some hate and rhetoric language. We're also hearing that there was hate language or hate speech on one of the firearms.
Yes, that's what I heard. I didn't hear about the note. I didn't hear about that, but I did hear about there is supposedly, I don't know because we haven't seen it yet, but there was, the report was that there was some hate speech on one of those firearms.
So that is why San Diego Police Chief did make mention that this is, a hate crime, but he did say a generalizable hate crime because, again, they don't have anything specific or to corroborate that. With the warrants, what they're really going to do is, besides, of course, search the property, search the homes of the two offenders, they're also going to look into all of their technology, their computers, their laptops, their cell phones, their tablets, seeing who they communicated with online, how these two came to be a pair, because that's important too. We know one was 17, one was 18. What is their prior relationship? How close of friends were they? Did they talk about this online to other people who may have known? Are they part of a network of other people who are, considering crimes like this? So there's a lot to be determined, and that's what these warrants are for.
And I did want to ask you about the significance here. We're talking about an attack that happened at a mosque, and I have to imagine that attacks like this are fairly rare.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, again, when something like this happens, even one is one too many. It's a tragedy. Lives were lost. There were kids on scene. Luckily, none of the children were injured, but of course, petrified. The families of those children are probably horrifically scared. But church shootings, house of worship attacks, those are statistically rare. When they do happen, they're horrible. But I want to just make mention that we have to prevent them before they happen. And this is where the leakage comes in. What that kid did by, acting out, leaving a note for his mother to find, that was pre-event leakage, which is very common in offenders who exhibit this type of action. So we just need to be diligent and vigilant to make sure to call appropriate resources or call law enforcement when we suspect anything like this could occur.
How difficult is it when you have, for instance, the mother calling police and saying, look, my teenager is missing, my vehicle's gone, weapons are gone, he's suicidal? How does that kind of factor in? Because as always, we say help from loved ones can help prevent something like this. Obviously, unfortunately, that was not the case, but we know police say they were looking into it maybe about 2 hours before the attack happened.
Absolutely. The mother's call is critical, and I think that it may have actually prevented further harm or death. It was able to alert law enforcement that something could happen, something bad could happen. And I know that the chief of San Diego did say that they started initiating using their technology, particularly license plate readers, so they were able to track that vehicle. Unfortunately, the offenders did get to the location before law enforcement was able to prevent
What's up,
it from
Fidel?
happening. But I think the quick response and early intervention, which was prompted by that mother's call, it did most definitely, in my opinion, save some lives.
Also want to talk about.
All right. And I think that is the most amount of information that we're going to get out of this. Let's see if there's any governmental posts during this, seeing if there's any official statements. If not, then, well, that shows that is the end of the morning. So listen, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for the amount of love, support that you guys have shown me. And I'm truly honored to be able to do this Monday through, Saturday, obviously. Members only Saturday. But listen, you guys are the ones that allow me to do this. So I'm very honored to be able to do it. Stick around for the raid, by the way. We're going to be raiding our buddy Rob Knorr, great political analyst and commentator as well. Listen, as well, stick around for that. And also stick around for, we're going to be playing the new rendition of the Insane Wheels, intro and extra song. So make sure you guys stick around for that. And let me know what you guys think about it. Anyways, we'll be back tomorrow morning for more of the World's Madness, and we'll know the who won. We'll know by tomorrow. We'll know by tonight. So if you guys are on my Discord, you guys will know immediately what the results are as soon as they come in. So anyways, much love to you guys. We'll see you guys very soon, and be safe out there. God bless everyone. Be good.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges.